Hello, and welcome. In today's interview, I am going to be talking about how to go from trauma to triumph with a woman who is so uniquely qualified to speak on this subject. I tell you, when you hear her story, you're going to understand exactly what I mean. But this lady is none other than the amazing international success and business mentor that is Kathy Haan. She's also an author and a speaker, and writes for idyllicpursuit.com. Okay, now just in case you're not familiar with me, before I continue, I'm just going to introduce myself. Okay, so my name is Nina Dafe, and I am the founder and the editor of the Far Above Rubies collection.com, where I help amazing Christian women just like yourself to know their worth, their power, and their purpose, so that they can speak up, step out, and shine as the amazing women that God ordained them to be. And if that's something that sounds right up your street, right up your alley, your cup of tea, as we say over here in London, then I want you to also strongly consider hitting the subscribe button below. Okay, and by the end of this interview, you're really going to walk away with a great wealth of wisdom, to be honest. But we're going to cover topics such as basically why in the first place you should let go of the pain that other people have inflicted on you, but also how to do it. We're going to be talking about, as you're going deeper into your personal development and, success, chasing purpose, at what point should you consider getting coaching or, a mentor? And what are the kind of qualities and characteristics that we should all be looking out for in a person like a life coach, for example? For those of you who are feeling like you are called to go into life coaching and all of that sort of jazz, then know that Kathy is a coach to coaches, okay? So she's also going to talk about how you can do that even if you don't have any qualifications at the moment. And one of the other things of many that we talk about as well was how to build wealth consciousness and let go of kind of old money mindsets as well as much more. So you definitely want to stick around until the end. But before we jump into all of that, what I'm going to do is quickly introduce Kathy, and then we'll get into all the meat and potatoes of it all, okay? I promise. So, in all that she's accomplished and overcome, Selena Sue describes Kathy Haan, MBA, as amazing and a visionary entrepreneur. Kathy's mission is to help women realize their fullest potential in both business and in life. As an international success and business mentor, author, and speaker, she helps women all over the world create coaching businesses far bigger than their dreams. She took second place in the pitch, is a Huffington Post contributor, and works with some of the largest brands in the world as a blogger. She is also a member of the Forbes Coaches Council and is a certified law of attraction practitioner. As a child, she was sexually abused and kicked out of the house at 14. Later, she was a state finalist for National American Miss Teen Iowa USA and a state finalist for Miss Iowa USA, and signed to a modelling agency. Before long, she was a coke and meth addict suffering from bulimia and anorexia. What she thought was her lucky break in DC led to her being a victim of human trafficking. Shortly after, she found herself pregnant at 18, marrying him sometime later. Dealing with an abusive marriage, crippling anxiety, PTSD, and depression, she then overdosed on 32 prescription sleeping pills in an attempt to take her life and spent 9 days in the hospital. Given a second chance at life, Kathy left her abusive marriage and was determined to make something of it. She went on to get an MBA, graduating with a 3.92 GPA, Alpha Beta Kappa, and is now working on her prerequisites for her PhD at Liberty Baptist Theological Seminary. She's also a coach. She's also been a coach for 7 years and volunteers extensively in her community. One of her greatest passions is her ministry helping women from the Democratic Republic of the Congo in business so that they may establish safe, happy, and healthy lives in the United States. Kathy resides in Iowa with her husband, 3 children, and 2 Great Prairies and a Yorkshire Terrier. Now, without any further ado, we are going to go straight into the interview. Enjoy! Hey, Kathy, how are you?
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you once again also for being here with me. Well, I was going to say this evening. It's probably like afternoon or something for you, right?
Yeah, it's 1 o'clock here.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, wow, early. Okay, well, as you know, I've kind of already introduced you to everybody, but I just wanted you just in your own kind of words to let everybody know who you are and all the fabulous things that you do.
Sure. Okay. So, I guess like probably the best way to do this is just to like really dive deep into like the
Sure.
story to like set the rest of the story.
Yeah.
So, essentially, like I came from like a really, really traumatic past
Okay.
and kind of like turned everything around. So I'll just kind of like start at the beginning. Like I was sexually abused as a child,
Mm-hmm.
kicked out of the house at 14, and then found myself a victim of human trafficking.
Wow.
And then I was a teen mom, had my first baby at 18,
Mm.
married her dad. He was abusive, both physically, emotionally, mentally. And I was in this state where I felt so broken.
Mm.
Like, what was wrong with me? Like,
Yeah.
on paper, everything looked really good. Like, I had the corporate job, I had the husband, I had the 2 kids, like all of this, but I was like literally like suffocating inside
Yeah. I understand.
because like I was dealing with this manipulation and like coercion and
Mm.
gaslighting by my husband.
Yeah.
The night that I decided to finally leave him,
Mm.
I told him I was leaving, and then he got in my head and had me convinced that because of my depression, I would never
Mm.
see my kids again.
Wow.
And as somebody who is in that state where like you're broken and
Yes.
you've been gaslighting for years and years, like you believe it.
Yeah.
Like, never mind the fact that the depression was caused by
By
him.
him. Yes.
Right. I truly believed I'd never see my kids again. And so that night I
Mm.
overdosed on um, 32 prescription sleeping pills in
Mm.
an attempt to take my life. And so, one of the last things that I remember that night was regret.
Yeah.
Regret as they were wheeling me out to the ambulance,
Wow.
hearing my toddler run up the stairs screaming to my dad who lived with us at the time,
Mm.
"Mommy die, mommy die."
Oh.
And I remember praying, "God, please, like I made a huge mistake, like let me live. I will do everything in my power to like change it around."
Mm.
And so I spent 9 days in the hospital.
Mm.
When I got out, I left him for
Wow.
good. Found my own place. I now have an MBA. I've been coaching for 7 years, helping women all over the world in
Mm.
business and in life. I started a ministry for Congolese refugees. This year alone, I've done 350 volunteer hours
How
with them.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. And like this summer alone, I traveled to like 12 different countries. I'm remarried now. I have another baby, so I have 3 kids now. And it's just like, I remember like being so broke, like not only like, financially,
Sure.
but also like spiritually and like
Yes.
mentally and emotionally. And
Mm.
now it's like a complete like 180 compared to where I used to be.
Yeah.
So that's me in a nutshell.
This huge amount. I think that's the thing because I think a lot of people can look at you, they can see, your success, been in Forbes and, you're now a successful coach, coaching other women and all this sort of stuff. And it is amazing how, like you said, if we just start at the beginning and dig deep into the story, like God has taken you from such a mighty, mighty long way. And I would really love to know, I mean, how has your faith kind of played into that journey from, back then to, coming all the way to where you are now?
I'm really glad that you brought that up because like I, when I was going through all that stuff, like in high school, I was actually president or vice president, excuse me, of our Luther League. And so
Yeah.
I had the faith. However, during all of that, like turmoil, like I was tested and I was tested today.
Yeah.
And so like, I always believed, but also on that same note, I was like, how could somebody so powerful
allow all of this to happen?
Allow something like this to happen to me. And that's actually why I was a seminary student.
Right.
After all this, like I went and joined seminary because I wanted to understand. I wanted to heal that part of me that I felt like abandoned. I do have issues from being kicked out at 14.
Sure.
But then like on the same note, like I felt abandoned by God. And so I made that literally like my mission, like to understand, why this happened. I wrote papers on it. And there's actually like a technical term for why God allows bad things to happen to good people. It's called theodicy.
Interesting.
Theodicy. Theodicy.
Theodicy.
Yeah. So I think that's how it's pronounced anyway.
I'm going to take your word for it.
So, yeah, and now it's like everything I went through, no matter how terrible, served a purpose.
Yes.
Because my story has allowed people to understand like human trafficking can happen in the middle of nowhere, Iowa. It can happen
anywhere. Yeah.
Like everybody who like shows their highlight reel on Facebook, like you think they've got these perfect lives. My life is far from perfect even now.
Sure.
And so, that faith is really important to me. And now I understand it. Like my relationship with God, rather than like, okay, I pray at mealtime, I pray at nighttime.
Yes.
It's totally different. It's like, I'm having a conversation with him all day, every day.
I say the same thing to people. I say, I think I went through this period of time a few years ago where I almost felt guilty that I wasn't praying in the traditional way, if that makes sense. Oh, Lord God and Heavenly Father, and you're supposed to pray before you go to sleep or when you wake up. And I just realized it's because you are in constant conversation with him, Nina, So yeah, it's refreshing to hear you say the same thing.
Yeah, and now it's more like a raw, organic relationship with him versus like a man-made like religion.
Yes.
This is me, this is who I am, he knows
me. Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's such a much like deeper level.
Yeah. That is amazing. I would love to hear more as well of what you were just talking about with the whole concept of theodicy. So you mentioned, I guess a snippet of everything, bad or that we perceive as negative that happens to us is for a reason. What else did you kind of discover through studying that as well?
Yeah, well, if you look at like the book of Job, like he went through.
Oh gosh, yeah.
More than I ever went through.
Yeah.
Like, I read these stories in the Bible and I'm like, oh my gosh, if I was in that position, I don't think I could go through with life, period. Like I've had very close friends of mine who have gone through way, way worse things than me. And, people look at it and like, well, that's a pretty bad thing that you went through. Like all of it, but it's like, I'm here.
Absolutely.
I'm healthy. My children are healthy. My children are safe. One of my best friends from high school was serving our country. She had deployed to, I think, Qatar. She had 2 weeks left of her leave when she was notified by the Red Cross that she had to fly home because her son had suffered a traumatic incident.
Wow.
Life support. 2 years old.
Oh.
He was murdered.
Wow.
And it's like, what I've gone through, I would go through 1,000,000 times over than to have my best friend have dealt with that to save that kid's life. And so it's like, it's really putting things in perspective. Like it helps carry me like, okay, yeah, I went through this crap, but look where I'm at now.
Yeah.
or like I'm in the thick of it, but this person has it so much worse. Like it really gives me that perspective.
Yeah.
And it serves a much higher purpose. Like in this pain, I'm so much closer. Like leaning on him, like, God, like, why is this happening? Like, what is the lesson in this? And so that's really how, like, I look at things now. Like, when things are happening that are, like, really crappy situations, I say, okay, what's the lesson in this?
Yeah.
And sometimes I get an answer, sometimes I don't.
That's it, isn't it? Yeah.
And so faith in him includes faith in his timing. So that being said, it's like, there are things I still don't know the answer to until, you know, years down the road.
Yeah.
And made peace with that.
Yeah. Thank you. That makes so much sense. And I think for me in my journey, that was definitely something that it took me ages to get into, I guess, to get to grips with as well. I always say I'm kind of a self-confessed control freak. And so me and my battles with God tended to be the same, I guess, you know, well, why did you allow this to happen? And, I thought it was going to go this way. And, why aren't you just allowing it to go like this and this, that, and the other? And I think just with maturity, maybe in age or with faith, as you walk with him and you learn to trust him, you really do learn that I guess you don't need all of the answers. And I think that's real faith in action sometimes, isn't it? Just being able to trust him in that way.
Yeah, that, and like now that like my relationship with God is like so much tighter, like when people do horrible things to me, like I come at that with like a sense of like compassion, like they've got to be going through something terrible.
Absolutely.
The way they treat me.
Yeah.
They have spoken to me the way they spoke to me. I'll give you an illustration. Like, that I was in an abusive marriage.
Sure.
And while I spent the 9 days in the hospital, my ex-husband had me committed to the hospital. And the reason he did that was so that way he could file for emergency custody of our children. So now, even to this day, I pay him child support, $600 a month, even though I get the kids just 1 day shy a week of 50-50. And so like that, for a long time, I was so bitter over, like so hurt over. It's like, monster, you are the reason for all this. Like I'm doing all these really amazing things. And so it worked out in his favor to treat me horribly because he already had the custody. And if he treated me like crap, then that looked good for him. I was crazy. Reacting. And so he would do everything he could to manipulate, control, hurt me, anything for years after the divorce. I prayed, I cried every single night, like, God, please soften his heart, please. And then one day he finally agreed to go to co-parenting counseling. And then it was like a complete 180. He started including me in on decisions. Last year, get this, our family, like my new husband and children, him, his girlfriend, her kids, her ex-husband and his kids, all took a trip to Florida together.
Amazing.
To Disney.
Wow.
Like, if you would have told me just like a year before, no way, there's no way he would ever do it. He would be so vicious and vile. Like, mentally, I can't. But our relationship has totally changed.
Wow.
I kept the faith.
Yes.
And I continued to be the good person.
Right.
Rise above. Despite everything that I went through and dealing with him.
I think there's so much in what you just said as well. Like so many kind of scriptures are running through my mind where you're talking about, continuing to be a good person, continuing to be good, because then it's like coals of fire on their head, God being the avenger and just letting him sort out the situation. Like so many times, I guess also in maybe being control freaks or even just our own nature of wanting to take revenge, especially if we feel like we've been wronged, or we're bitter, or whatever the case may be, it can be really hard in that sense to let go and let God. I think that was something I really used to struggle with. I used to see forgiveness as, well, that's me condoning that person's behavior. It's not fair that I should have to forgive when look at what they've done to me. But I think you're a perfect illustration. Actually, it's actually about your spiritual, mental, emotional well-being, your own health, and being able to progress in your own life, and just leaving that person to answer for whatever it is that they're doing, right?
Exactly. And so like after that, like our relationship has continued to improve. Like when my dad passed away, it'll be 3 years in January. He was even a pallbearer.
Wow.
At my dad's funeral. And his dad actually just passed away a couple of weeks ago. And like I was one of the first people that he got in touch with. And I went over to his mom's house and, consoled her, consoled the rest of the family. It's like, even though we're not together and we'll never be back together.
Yeah.
Like there's a mutual respect now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is such healing, such restoration, like truly, truly true. And so if, I guess, there was a woman now who was in the position that you were before, feeling very broken, whether it's that she also has been abused, or, in a relationship that's abusive, whatever the case may be, what would you say to her? What would your words or your advice be as someone who, has kind of come out on the other side and has such a testimony?
Sure. So one of the very first things I thought of as you were asking me that was like, so much can change in a very short period of time.
Right.
For example, just one session at co-parenting counseling and his entire viewpoint of me changed literally overnight.
Right.
If you are in an abusive marriage, the most important thing is to get help. It's not something that you can do alone. Right. And yes, God is really important. You need to lean on him. But also I'm talking about help, like support from others, like coming up with an action plan to get out.
Yeah.
Because it's rare that people, like when you're in the thick of it, will change.
Yeah.
And for your safety. And if you have children, their safety is really important.
Yeah.
As far as let's say that, somebody's really struggling with being broke. There are times I slept on the floor of JFK because I couldn't afford a hotel room.
Right.
I was pawning stuff just to make rent, next to nothing in rent. I think $310 was my rent.
Wow.
It was nothing, but I didn't.
But at the time, yeah.
To pawn stuff. I was on food stamps, went to the food bank. It could change so fast for you. All it takes is perseverance, consistency, and belief that miracles can literally happen. People my clients are always well, I want to be realistic and blah, 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 blah. I'm no, realistic is outside of the realm of faith.
Wow.
Period.
Wow. I like that. Realistic is outside of the realm of faith. I'm going to remember that the next time, honestly. Yeah.
I can't remember who to attribute that to, but I was listening to, I think, Stephanie Sinclair's live video, and one of her friends had said that. I was
amazing, mind blown, right?
I'm I need to stop being realistic.
Yeah, right.
Because miracles, they happen every day.
Yes.
Look at where we are. We're here. This is crazy. Just 100 years ago, people thinking that we're chatting through screen.
Honestly, in 2 different countries and time zones, all of that. Yeah, you're right. You're so right. And so in terms of, obviously going through that, and then now, you decided to, I don't know, go into life coaching, building your business, and where did that transition kind of come in? I mean, how did you get that, I guess, seed of purpose?
Sure. So in the height of like all of my depression and anxiety and mental health issues, I found myself close to 300 pounds, morbidly obese.
Mm-hmm.
And just a couple of years before that, like I was modeling and doing all these things. So like I was really thin.
Sure.
Just when I got pregnant at 18, I didn't know how to eat because I was still involved in the eating disorder lifestyle of
Right.
modeling. So when I had to eat, I didn't know how to eat. So I gained 85 pounds with that
Right.
pregnancy, had another baby and gained, I think, 65 pounds. So I found myself close to 300 pounds and I hated myself. And so I was sitting there with a sleeve of Oreo cookies watching an infomercial.
Yes.
And an infomercial for P90X came on, and I had remembered coworkers talking about how hard P90X was, and I'm a very competitive person. I'm like,
Okay.
all right. So I went and ordered like their biggest package, like $600. I didn't even know what I was doing, but I ended up losing 123 pounds.
Wow. Wow.
And then naturally everybody was like, how did you do it? And so I started coaching people on health and fitness and then helping other people start their coaching businesses as well.
Right.
However, a couple of years into coaching, I was like, I'm really tired of answering the same questions
over and over
about that transformation. So I started blogging about it. Then I started making really good money as a blogger. And then people were like, well, how'd you make money as a blogger? And so then I started showing people how to make money online. And now I've more to just like business coaching. But the funny thing is a lot of business coaching is mindset work.
Right.
You know, like belief in self, like worthiness, that type of thing. Sure, it's a lot of strategy, but all the strategy in the world means nothing without the mindset component.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense. Can you dig into like a bit of the mindset and you know, for the lady who's maybe thinking about starting her own business or even coaching, for example?
Yeah. So one of the big questions that I get all the time is like, well, how can I coach if I don't have like a coaching certification?
Sure. Yes.
Not me personally, but how could they start something?
Yes.
Have a coaching certification. They're like, you have an MBA and you've been 7 years, like you have credentials. And I'm like, yeah, I always have an MBA. I didn't always have, you know, Forbes and USA Today and all these like media credentials. But the biggest thing is to look at like the periods in your life of like the transition moments. So whether it's like you went from, you know, working like at a fast food joint to working in corporate in your dream job making 6 figures, or if you had massive weight loss like I did that started in this journey in the coaching world, like you want to look at like what you would put like on a resume.
Right.
Really, like, okay, well, I got to think back to all of the different things I've done. When I was working on my resume and my like media page, I was like, okay, what have I done? Like, I was a state finalist for Miss Iowa USA. However, I'm like, how does that relate to business coaching? Like, it doesn't really. However, if you think about it, that makes me uniquely qualified to coach on like PR and all these other things. It is exactly related.
Because it's transferable skills, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's how you want to look at your skills and like the things you've gone through and the things you participated in. Like even if like I got a Dairy Queen scholarship, like that could be used because like I had to like apply and like convince other people. And so I'm great at copy because of it. I don't do discovery calls anymore because I have excellent copy.
Right.
People, you know, they usually say like if a package is more than $2,500 that you should get them on the phone.
Yes.
You know, I sell $8,000 packages without getting them on the phone because I have damn good copy. So
I love that. And then what about the other way around? So, you know, there's, I think in this generation and this age, there is a lot about, you know, life coaching, getting a mentor if you want to be successful, those sort of things. What would you say is I guess the right stage to look into getting a life coach, and maybe what kind of quality should you be looking for as well?
Okay, so even where I'm at in my business, I hire
Mm,
coaches. I have
mm-hmm.
many different coaches for different things, but I
Sure.
probably put like 90% of what I make back into like personal development,
Okay. Yeah.
which is like mind blowing considering like one of my group coaching programs was like 25K.
Mm-hmm.
Another one was like 30K. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
a massive amount of money is put into my growth because
Yeah.
rarely will your success ever surpass your level of personal development.
That makes so much sense. Yeah.
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 So like, one thing too that you want to think about is somebody may have like these great like credentials. They may really like have great testimonies. However,
Mm.
you want to actually talk to those people who gave testimonials because it
Uh,
could be that they just like, I don't know. I ran into it where they fabricated it.
oh
So,
wow.
um, and I know there are people like, there are coaches who are like, yeah, I coach on like 6 and 7 figure mindset and all this stuff. And that person has never,
Themselves. Right. Yeah.
and I'm like, there's like some integrity issues there.
Mm.
So, do your homework.
Mm. Mm.
The thing that works with me is like, I'm like everywhere, like media wise. So like
Yeah.
people want to hire me, they're going to Google me anyway. I can
Right.
find all this stuff like, okay, she's legit.
Yeah.
So media is a big thing too. Like
Yeah.
if you want to have a coaching business, like start getting that media stuff now. Like give your opinion on something.
Mm.
Sign up for Hero emails.
Yeah. What was that last bit? Sorry, about the emails?
Hero, help a reporter out.com.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. And just yeah, replying to those and giving kind of your expert opinion and stuff, right?
Exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So like uh you can be a solopreneur if you want, but you're going to make
Mm.
way more money if you like have a team of people like behind you, like mentors, coaches, staff, like sales team,
Mm.
community manager, VA, all of it.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
you shouldn't be doing all that by yourself.
Yeah. At what point, I guess, do you know? Would you say as soon as possible or just?
Yeah. So what I do throughout my day is I like, especially when I first started
Mm.
thinking about like, okay, who can I bring on?
Mm.
I thought about, okay, who else can do this?
Mm.
And even though I love like creativity, I love to create opt-ins and PDFs and like
Mm.
images, and I'm great at Photoshop and stuff. Like, yeah, I get sucked in and spend hours and hours and hours
Right.
because I
Yeah.
love it. But I
Yeah.
don't need to be doing that. I could hire somebody who's just as good or better
Mm-hmm.
and get my time back.
Sure.
Mhm.
Sure.
Another thing too is like I'm constantly like going to different like personal development events. So
Mm.
whether it's events or like courses or anything, always learning, always growing and applying.
Mm.
Not just learning, but actually applying what I learned.
Absolutely. Yeah. 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 It's that whole thing about perfect no, wrong quote. What I'm thinking about is wisdom being kind of the application of knowledge, rather than just kind of, okay, like you said, ferreting it away like a squirrel and then never ever using it again.
Right, exactly. That's a huge thing. And like I
Mm.
have clients who are like, but I worked all day and I haven't signed a client. I'm like, okay, well, what'd you do all day? Like,
Yeah.
write it out. Like, what did you do? And, they spent 2 hours scrolling through Facebook while they like checked back at whatever they were creating for
Mm-hmm.
2 minutes and then scrolled again. It's like,
Yeah.
okay. So you want to make sure that the time that you're actually spending on your business is spent on like money making activities
Right.
rather than just like mindless like stuff you can just delegate.
Mm. Did you know, this is reminding me when I was researching you, actually, one of the things that I noticed is that you're also like a law of attraction
Yeah.
practitioner as well.
Yeah.
So what does that, how does that come into everything, in terms of the mindset, business strategy,
Yeah. So you can have like all of the skills in the world to
Yeah.
totally like make your client succeed in everything. But if you
Mm.
don't believe in yourself and your wealth consciousness isn't there, like you're not going to make anything and people are going to see right through it. And
Mm.
so the law of attraction, like, especially like in the Christian community, people are like,
Yeah.
oh, law of attraction, like that's like, yeah, over there, you got to stay away from that.
What
However,
makes me laugh is it's throughout the Bible.
yeah,
That's
exactly.
what the funny thing is. You reap what you sow, give, and it shall be given unto you as a man thinketh. So, I mean, it's all there.
Yeah. Yeah. And so for me, it's like, okay, God has given me all of this stuff. So like when
Yeah.
people are reading that type of material where it says like universe, they're like,
Mm.
God, like
Absolutely.
God is giving this.
Yes.
So for me, like I'm a really, really lucky person
Mm.
and like I win stuff all of the time. And I
Oh,
have it,
wow. Yeah.
I literally do. Like in a 3-week period, I won a trip for 2 to New York City. So I took my girls to New York for the entire week of Thanksgiving last
That's
year.
amazing.
All expenses paid. I won a laptop, $500 in toys for my
Oh,
kids,
wow.
gift cards, all this stuff in just a very short period of time.
Yeah.
And I actually ran a manifesting mastermind for 21 days with my group clients.
Mm-hmm.
And myself in 21 days manifested a little over 20,000.
That's amazing.
That doesn't include anything like from clients.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it works.
Yeah.
Like do the work and apply the principles that you're taught.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. What are the, I guess some of the biggest principles or I guess a little kind of tip that people could implement today if they wanted to?
Sure. So I treat my affirmations like a prayer. So I have a
Mm.
list of affirmations that I say like I am wealthy. It's like a prayer to
Mm-hmm.
God. That's like my prayer time. Another thing that everybody in the group program loved was the Secret Money app.
Okay.
And so basically what it is, it cost me like $3,
Okay.
but it sends you a check every single day and you get to spend that check, like fake money, but
Mm-hmm.
you get to spend it. And you can't use it on bills or debt.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Right.
spend it. And so it's like training your wealth consciousness. Like I remember the first time I got like a $20,000 check, I was so excited. I'm like, oh, what can I buy today?
Yeah.
I think I like probably traveled the world like 6 times with the checks that I got. And it also gives you a way to list down the money that you really manifested,
Right.
which is so cool. And so that's how I was able to keep track of like everything.
Yeah.
And then it gives you like affirmations you can say, and it stops you once you've said your 20 for the day. And then also gives like a little like paragraph for you to read each day. But that was probably the most fun thing for all of us because it was kind of like a game. It's like, what can I do now?
Yeah.
Who can I donate to now?
Right.
Like what lives can I change today?
And I can imagine that as you're doing that in like a game type of way, obviously it then kind of trains your mind for real life and handling kind of real money and how to practice that that wealth mentality and mindset in real life, right?
Yeah. And so like, for example, one of the exercises that I had our group clients go through was like, spend the day like looking for money. Like go for a walk and see like finding money. Like I had posted that and then the very next day I was coming down my basement stairs. Mind you, I'm down in my basement now. I work in my basement.
Right.
I'm here all day, like every day.
Yeah.
And I came down my stairs and there was a $10 bill on my stairs.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I pass through this many times a day. My family passes through it many times a day. I have no idea where this $10
came from.
Right. I actually have it right here. Proof, $10. And then, no lie, I had this sitting on my desk. My toddler comes in and is like, "Oh, $100." Because if you treat $10 like it's $1 billion, like if you treat a penny like it's $1 billion, like that's like gets you excited. And God's like, okay, cool. So she loves getting pennies. I'm going to send her more.
Right.
So find like more and more. Like the craziest thing is like my mom was the one who kicked me out when I was 14. Well, my stepdad. And so there's always been kind of like this like resentment a little bit towards her and bitterness, especially considering the fact that she had helped my sister, who's a convicted felon, build her house.
Right.
And here I am, the successful one who like doesn't ask for anything. I never get anything. And one day during this mastermind.
Yeah.
Mastermind, she sent me a message. It's like, hey, I'm always helping your sister out. I'm sending you $7,000.
Amazing.
You can work on your house. And I'm like, this is something I've been praying for like ever now.
Yeah.
Just to like feel like she cares,
Yes.
And this was like validation, like, yeah, she does.
Yeah.
And then that week I sold 6 packages.
Amazing.
Yeah. So it's like, once you can like let go of some of like the burden that you have on your shoulders, like you open yourself up for abundance.
Right. And I guess it's because when you said opening up the getting rid of kind of the burden, what I was thinking about was things like obviously the doubt, the fear, because people, obviously some people have a fear of failure and others who also have a fear of success and actually receiving, right? So I guess it all goes back full circle to what we've been talking about in terms of mindset and all of that shifting.
Yeah. And I'm really glad you brought up the receiving part because, one of the first things that I ask my clients is, how good are you at receiving? And it's actually in my welcome packet. And most of them be like, yeah, I'm great at receiving. And, I will take whatever God wants to send me.
Yes.
However, I then ask them, okay, do you feel like you can take tomorrow off of work to go to the spa? And they're like, well, no, I can't. And I'm like, okay. Do you think that you can go like book a vacation for your family? And they're like, well, no, I can't because we got to save the money and blah, blah, blah. Or I'm like, okay, how long did it take you to hire me as your coach? And I'm like, well, I've been thinking about it for like a year now. I'm like, okay, so you tell me that you're great at receiving, but you're not. The act of receiving is opening yourself up to allowing yourself to like spend money on yourself, invest in yourself.
Right.
So if you want to attract clients who pay whatever it is that you charge willingly, you've got to get great at receiving, which starts with investing in yourself.
Right.
I go to the spa all the time. I love it. There were times where I couldn't afford it.
Yes.
But I went anyway.
Yes.
And I felt better about myself.
Yeah.
And then I started opening myself up to receiving.
Oh, totally. Totally. And I think I smile when you say that because I know I can think of so many women who would hear that and would have trouble with it because we're so used to giving out all the time. And we're the ones who are always nurturing, we're the ones who are always giving. I know that women, especially, we tend to have so much trouble receiving and so much trouble actually taking time for ourselves, and whether it's the spa or just lying in or whatever the case may be. But all of those things actually, like you're saying, do come into that, I guess, that abundance mindset and realizing that there is no time scarcity, there is no money scarcity. You can do these things.
Right. Exactly. And another thing too is like one way that we can help train ourselves to like receive is like, rather than like buying the off-brand stuff that doesn't taste very good, like actually getting the real thing.
Yes.
For example, when you're flying, go for first class. You will never ever regret going in for first class.
Absolutely.
You will regret, coach.
Yes.
But never first class.
Yes.
Another thing, like I just had to book a flight this morning for Baltimore and also a room. And like my old self would have been like, okay, I need to get on Airbnb and get the cheapest possible, like as close as possible to the location I need to be in.
Yeah.
And that's such a scarcity mindset. And so instead I booked a mansion.
Brilliant.
Yeah. I was like, it's like an $11 like Uber ride away from where I need to, like, okay, I am totally down for this mansion.
Yes. Yes.
Before I would have like slept on somebody's couch to save money.
Yeah. Yes, I do.
It's just,
I totally
it's
do.
crazy.
Yeah. And I think it's the way that we treat ourselves is definitely a reflection then of what you, like you said, what we will receive from others, but also how others will treat us. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you can't expect people, like you said, to, whether it's to spend on you or to treat you a certain way in a relationship, whatever the case may be, when you're not always being the kindest to yourself, or treating yourself with the greatest amount of love.
Yeah, exactly. And like, for example, I used to be the type of person that would like go to the airport in
Mm.
like pajamas and like no makeup, hair not done, messy bun.
Yeah.
But then I started, gosh, it was probably about a year ago. I started like getting dressed very nicely.
Yeah.
And the craziest things started happening. Like the people in front of me would buy me coffee.
Oh wow.
Even
See.
people behind me would buy me coffee.
Yeah.
I'd get bumped to first class.
Yeah.
What else? People just started treating me better. Like I was returning a rental car in LA about 9-10 months ago.
The feedback.
And I was dressed very nicely, had my makeup done, my full face on, even though it was like god awful hour.
Yeah.
And the rental car people gave me a private like chauffeur to the airport rather than hopping on the shuttle with everybody else.
Right.
You know, there's an element of like being lucky and like manifesting these types of things, but there's some work on our part that we can do.
Yes.
Like, at the airport, I started making these little goodie bags for the flight crew.
Oh, nice.
And so I get all kinds of special treatment because that never happens to them. And so they're like, oh, here's the girl who thought of us. She gave us like, if there's an extra seat up in first class, guess who's going to get?
Right. So. I love that. I really do. I could literally just continue along this vein, like for the rest of the evening. But just, you know, thinking about obviously timing and, you know, just thinking about finishing as well. And one of the things that I really wanted to ask you was kind of, do you have, because one of the things that's, you know, that I write about is you know, women of the Bible, female empowerment. So do you have a favorite woman of the Bible, and kind of, if so, why? Like, how does she kind of tie into your, I guess, testimonial journey?
Probably Esther. And I think a lot of it ties back to the abundance thing. Like she's the woman that like has it all.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. And then if you had to kind of finish this sentence, so I'm a Christian woman who is, how would you finish that?
I am a Christian woman who is unstoppable.
I believe you. I totally believe you. And then to flip that around, so I'm a Christian woman who is not
broken.
Absolutely.
And a woman who is not broken.
Yes. And then if you had to kind of give any other kind of words of encouragement to those who are, you know, watching along, or, you know, just even letting people know how to find you. If you've got a free gift, let us know, then, you know, over to you.
Yeah. So you can actually go to my website, and I've created a landing page, Kathy Haan, so HAAN.
Yes.
.com/welcome. And there will be a link for you to download the Ideal Client Workbook. And so that's going to be your first step. And like, if you do want to start a coaching business, to figure out who you're meant to serve.
Absolutely.
And then you can figure out how you're meant to serve them. So that's the first step.
I like it. And did you have any other words of encouragement at all, or?
I think you're frozen.
Am I frozen? Oh, sorry about that. I was just asking whether or not you had any other words that you wanted to kind of leave us with, to mull over at all.
Yeah. So probably the biggest lesson in all of this is, no matter like where you're at, like how deep you are in these trenches, like there is always a way out and a way through. Yeah. So find yourself a business bestie. Find yourself a bestie who's like high vibe, who doesn't tolerate like the woe is me. And they're like, okay, this sucks for you, but how are we going to figure out a way out of this?
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's huge. Having that support.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, Kathy, do you know what? Thank you so, so much for, having this chat with me, agreeing to take this time. I've really just kind of appreciated everything that you've had to say. Like I said, I could literally just carry on, just kind of picking your mind. But yeah, thank you. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. So I'm gonna say bye for now, and I will be in. How amazing was that interview? Now, if you were just as blown away as I was by all of Kathy's sort of tips and tricks of how to go from trauma to triumph, then please do feel free to like and share this video, especially if there's kind of someone that you know within your own circle who needs to hear this message. I would also love, love, love to know your kind of biggest takeaways. So feel free to kind of comment below, and I'll obviously circle back and come right back to you. For those of you who know me, I'm extremely interactive, so definitely comment below and let's keep this kind of discussion going. And also, if you would like to see more videos like this where I basically either by myself or with other experts show you how to know your worth, your power and your purpose, so that you can speak up, step out and shine as a woman of God as well, then also consider hitting the subscribe button below. And don't forget also to hit the bell, because what that does is notify you every single time that I post, which is pretty much every week, at least once a week, normally twice. Okay, so yes, keep a lookout. I will be back again next week, and you take care for now. Okay, my love? Bye.